Today, a true crime exclusive. I'm asking for your help to catch a killer. Rebekah Gould was murdered 14 years ago, and no one was held responsible. The person who did it might still be out there, walking the streets, free to kill again. But new information and evidence may be able to help catch this killer and finally get justice for Rebekah. And a new investigative podcast is leading the charge. Beautiful, headstrong, and ambitious, 22-year-old Rebekah Gould had a bright future ahead of her. Instead, her brutal death has become one of the biggest murder mysteries in the state of Arkansas. September 20th, 2004, 8 a.m. Rebekah drops off her boyfriend at his job before stopping at a convenience store for coffee and a breakfast sandwich. On the way back to the boyfriend's home, she stops at a local gas station. It will be the last time the college student would be seen alive. That afternoon, when Rebekah failed to pick up her younger sister for their scheduled trip back to college, her worried family reached out to police.
911.
Her car, belongings, cell phone, dog, and uneaten breakfast were reportedly discovered at her boyfriend's home. Rebekah was nowhere to be found, sparking a frantic search for the missing student. As friends and family posted flyers and search teams tirelessly combed the hilly and heavily wooded terrain of the Arkansas Ozarks. 7 days later, Rebekah's partially clad body would be discovered down a steep embankment off a winding highway just 5 miles from Melbourne, Arkansas. According to the official autopsy report, the cause of death was a single lethal blow to her head. 14 years later, her murder has remained unsolved and her killer at large. Now her case is the focus of a highly anticipated new podcast, Hell and Gone, narrated by writer and private investigator Catherine Townsend.
For me, this case is personal. I have a long history with this area. Rebekah's murder continued to haunt me. I'm not stopping until I get justice for Rebekah.
Investigative journalist Catherine Townsend joins us now. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you spent the last few years of your life trying to figure out what happened to Rebekah.
Tirelessly investigating, yes.
How do you move from this being an investigation to this being an obsession? Because that's what seems to have happened.
Well, you know, Dr. Oz, I'm from that area. And so I had been going back to the Ozarks since I was a kid. My dad lives there, my younger sister lives there. And every time I'd go home, I'd hear rumors about this case. And I kept thinking, if everyone in town seems to know what happened and who killed Rebekah, then why hasn't her case been solved? And then my sister introduced me to Rebekah's sister, and eventually I met her father, and the case just became really personal. You know, Rebekah was a beautiful, smart young woman. She was launching her life. She was starting college. She had her whole life ahead of her, and so I kept thinking, this could be me. This could be my sister, my friend.
Why is where this took place, the Ozarks in Arkansas, so important to the story?
Well, look, I mean, it's a beautiful area. There's plenty of vacation homes. There's wealth there. There's also extreme poverty in some areas. It's very rural, and a lot of these places are way out in the woods. They're very remote. It's hard to get to. And when I was doing the investigation, you know, I'm experiencing things like having no cell service, which you see in a horror movie you think doesn't happen, but it really happened in this investigation.
It's been 14 years. It's a long time. And the killer, theoretically, is still out there.
Yes.
Why do you think no one has been arrested? It's a small town. You'd think someone would have seen something.
You do. I mean, and we've discovered a lot of people have been coming forward. I believe the reason is, and you know, I work with law enforcement all the time, but I think in this particular case, anytime one person is in charge of investigation for so long, I think it can be difficult.
Is that the case here?
Yeah, that's the case here. And we've had one person in charge of the investigation almost from the very beginning. I feel like a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective. I mean, cold cases are cracked every day with information like that. So someone out there knows.
We've witnessed so many cold cases being solved, even on the show. DNA evidence, forensics. Part of the reason I got interested was because the CSI part of this, the physical evidence is so powerful. So what did police find on this poor young woman's body that might have been able to help us?
Well, we know that at the home there was, blood in the washing machine. There was a bloody mattress that had been flipped over. There was bloody material basically all over the scene of this.
But on her actual body that
Right.
they found down the embankment, what did they discover
Well,
there?
the truth is we don't know. We don't know exactly because the police just aren't sharing any information. I've had a very difficult time even getting very basic facts about this case out. We know that they did test. They couldn't do as many tests as they wanted to do because she'd been out in the woods for so long. And you're talking about Arkansas Indian summer. The temperatures were getting up to 85 degrees, so her body was pretty badly decomposed. Certain tests couldn't be done.
So just to bring everyone up to speed on this, it's been reported that the day after Rebekah went missing, police found her car, her cell phone, her dog at her boyfriend's home.
Yes.
They also found a bloody mattress and bloody pillowcases. You mentioned that actually some of this was actually in the washing machine.
They found, yes, as you said, a flipped over bloody mattress, bloody pillowcases, and blood in the washing machine, trails of blood in the house.
So bizarre. So is that, I guess that's where police feel Rebekah was killed.
Yes, police feel Rebekah was killed in the home.
In her boyfriend's home.
In her boyfriend's home. That's right.
Well, I mean, let me ask the question everyone's probably thinking now. What does the boyfriend say about what happened to his girlfriend?
We've spoken to Rebekah's boyfriend. He was publicly cleared as a suspect. He was cleared by the police. And he declined to comment. He told us that he has a family to protect and that he just doesn't want to comment.
So I should point out that we also reached out, what my producers did, to Rebekah's boyfriend. He responded that he has, I'm going to quote him, no comment.
Yes.
So it's consistent. So
Yes.
help us put together the pieces here. What are the theories about what happened to Rebekah?
We heard so many different theories. We've heard that she was involved in some drug dealing, and even though we knew Rebekah smoked a little pot, there was no evidence that she did harder drugs. We also learned that she might have gotten into a conflict with a girl. She might have gotten into an argument with a girl, and that girl or a group of people might have done something to her. We heard there might have been a party over the weekend. That was another thing that we investigated. We heard rumors she was kidnapped, taken to a horse trailer, tied to a mattress. I mean, you wouldn't believe the number of things that we heard about this case and that we had to investigate and find out which rumors were true, which ones were a little true, and which ones were just completely out there.
All right, well, coming up, we're going to meet Rebekah's dad. What does he think happened to his daughter? And what can you do to help catch Rebekah's killer? We'll be right back. We're back with the True Crime Exclusive. A new investigative podcast is asking the question, who killed Rebekah Gould? She was a college student killed in the Arkansas Ozarks, and for 14 long years, no one has been held responsible. Rebekah's father, Dr. Larry Gould, joins us now. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I just can't imagine what it would be like. But I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell the world about your daughter. What should they know about her?
Well, I think in a quick paragraph or sentence, what I'd like the world to know about Rebekah is simply that she was truly a beautiful spirit. She was filled with love, filled with kindness, and she had just a huge heart, a big heart. She'd do anything for anybody at any time. And that's one thing that made her incredibly special. The other part to her that I'd like everybody to know was that she was a fighter. Rebekah was a rebel. She was spunky. She was, probably in the words of her sisters, absolutely fearless. Mm-hmm. And maybe a good way to describe Rebekah would be to simply say that she was probably a bully's worst nightmare.
A bully's worst nightmare.
A bully's worst nightmare.
Daughters often will have issues with their parents, but I understand the last time she spoke to you, it was a very touching moment.
Yes. I'm blessed in that I have memories of that moment. It took place roughly 2 weeks to maybe 6 weeks before her murder. I don't have it pinpointed, but she called me on the phone and she said, "Dad, I'd like to come over. I want to talk to you a little bit and get some advice." And when she came over, we went outside. It was summertime. And we went out on our deck, kind of overlooking a little lake, and we just had a casual conversation. And at the time, nothing impacted me because I thought this was just everyday stuff and that she was moving on. But she told me that she was leaving where she was living, which was in Melbourne, Mountain View, Arkansas, about an hour south of where we lived, and she was headed to become a Razorback in northwest Arkansas at the University of Arkansas. She was doing a junior college program, but her dream was to go there and become a hog. At that meeting, she did tell me that she was leaving her boyfriend. She was leaving everything. She wanted to start her life all over. And what I think impacted me the most about that meeting was simply that most parents never get to hear what I'm about to tell you, and that's simply that I had a chance to hear my daughter tell me how she admired me, and she admired my life, and she wanted to make her life like mine. And for a dad to hear that and have that memory is something that I hold to. I hold on to it.
You should be very proud.
I am.
You should be very proud for that rebel tell you that.
Oh yeah, that's what she was. She would have been something very special in life had she had a chance.
I know that from the night that you heard that your daughter was missing, your relationship with police has changed. 14 years is a long time to wait for answers. What's happened?
Well, when this first began, it was nothing more than a phone call, and I had very little information. I was just told that, and this is from family, that Rebekah was missing, and I didn't know much more. And I slowly learned that it became a little bit more serious than she had just left somewhere and gone somewhere. So I shut my office down, and my entire staff went with me.
You're a dentist.
I'm a dentist in Mountain Home. And we all went down to begin the search. So the first week was simply search and rescue. I mean, I had hopes every day that we'd find her alive, obviously. And you're running on adrenaline. I mean, adrenaline is just off the charts. Mm-hmm. You have tunnel vision. You're not even aware of what's around you. You're just in that mode of I've got to find her. I know she's alive. I'm going to find her. And so you don't eat, you don't sleep. You're just on this incredible high. And so I didn't learn much from law enforcement after that week. But when they found Rebekah's body, then I was told that after 1 week, let's say, I learned that she had been found. So law enforcement at that point informed me of the fact that she was dead. And I went on with my life from that point because I believed in law enforcement. I trusted law enforcement. I believed that, okay, everything's in good hands. These people are trained to do this. They're trained to find the killer and to sort through all of the evidence and whatever was there. And having being a doctor, I knew that science was really on our side. So the first 8 years of waiting, I was told, maybe on a yearly basis, there was a meeting that would take place between myself and law enforcement, which at that point it was turned over to the Arkansas State Police. And I was kind of briefed by them and given hope that we're so close, we have suspects, we believe there will be an arrest, within a short period of time. And that short period of time was always maybe within 6 months. But after year went past, at the 8th year, I decided I need to know more. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't buy what I was being told. I felt I was being placated. So I wrote extensively. I wrote letters to the prosecuting attorney. I wrote letters to the Arkansas Crime Lab, which is based in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I wanted to know the forensics. I wanted to know the autopsies, and I wanted to see what was in the case file of the police. I was rejected every time. Every time they wouldn't tell me anything.
So a father is not allowed to find out evidence about his daughter's murder? Is that the rule?
I think what happens is, to us it was a cold case. To everybody else it was a cold case. But they operate under the guise of it's an active investigation. So by simply saying it's an active investigation, they defeat they defeated me from learning anything.
Believe me, I feel the frustration that you're expressing. So what do you think happened? I mean, you've heard all the theories. You've studied this as well as anybody. It's your daughter. What happened to her?
Well, I think that's a good point. Over the course of those years, people are wonderful. They'd send things to my office. They'd call my office and leave messages. They'd write letters. They'd send things that were just comforting. But I had about every imaginable theory presented to me. So I was, in a sense, swimming with, I can't call them facts, but hypotheticals and just theories about what took place. So I really didn't know. But I did know that Rebekah had had a meeting with her boyfriend, and that her whole point of moving from where she was at to Northwest Arkansas was to not leave any baggage, to start all over and begin a new life. And so that particular weekend when she went missing, she was going to that particular area to spend the weekend with her boyfriend and to break up with him. So I think certainly he should have been considered the primary suspect. As time went on, I know that he was released from being that suspect for some reason, and I don't know exactly why. And then others came into the picture.
The police had claimed that he had an airtight alibi. That was one of the main reasons that he was released. I've felt the frustration with the police too, because I've been told by an investigator, an Arkansas State Police investigator, when I went in to present new evidence and new witnesses, I had this man look at me and tell me this was none of my business, basically, and that investigations are grown-up stuff, and that I should maybe just forget about it because I'm just an entertainment person and I don't matter. And I know that Larry's faced a lot of the same issues, much worse, and I just feel like, I just want to let them know that we're not going to stop, and we're not going to stop, we're not going to forget, we're not stopping until we get justice.
Well, I would just point out for everybody that Larry, you're expressing your opinion, which I'm respectful of, but there have been no charges filed in the case. Losing a child, it just violates the natural order. And as a dad, I'd be struggling just to hold myself together, as I'm sure you are. How would finding justice for your daughter be a solve for the pain? How would it change things for you and your family?
Well, over the course of the 14 years and being basically defeated every way imaginable to learn what happened to my daughter, to have somebody arrested, and I don't want anybody that's innocent falsely accused, but if they could find who murdered her, and there would be a tremendous sense of relief there. I could have some finality. And I think that's what anybody needs that's a parent that loses a child, is you want to properly move on. You want to always remember your child, but at the same time, you want to know what happened.
One closure.
Yes, sir.
God bless you. Coming up, how can you help catch Rebekah's killer? How can you play a role? That's next. Rebekah Gould was murdered 14 years ago, and no one has been held responsible. Today, we are searching for justice, and you can help. My team contacted the Arkansas State Police about Rebekah's case, and they were told the investigation is active and they will not discuss or identify suspects prior to an arrest. So Larry, someone watching right now, on that, at home, at work, somewhere, knows what happened to your daughter. What do you have to say to that person?
Well, I think that first and foremost, what I'd say is Rebekah was 22 years of age when she was murdered. So the group of people that she hung out with, the group of people that she was around, all her friends or people that knew her and knew her friends would have been in that age group. It's 14 years later, and those people now are older. They're in their mid-30s. They have families, and a lot of them have children of their own now. I think what I would want to say to the ones that know, and I know there are people out there that know, is please help. Put yourself in this position if you have kids. Grab your kid, hug them, grab your child and just look at them and think what it would be like if you could no longer hold that person or look into their eyes again, ever. So I want help, I need help. I respect law enforcement completely, and I don't intend to circumvent them, but if somebody has anything to offer us, if somebody's heard a confession or just any bits of piece of information, they can find Catherine, they can call my office, or they can go to law enforcement.
Well, Catherine, obviously if someone has information about Rebekah's murder, they ought to go to law enforcement. We're all agreed on that.
Obviously, yes. Call the Arkansas State Police first.
But how do they get in touch with you? How can they help you?
Right, and we are passing everything that we have on to law enforcement, I should say. They can get in touch with us through, we have a website for the Helen Gone podcast. The podcast starts October 17th, and they can reach us there, and we listen to every piece of information, big or small. You might think it's something really insignificant, but we found that just the tiniest thing in a cold case can be the whole thing that breaks it wide open, so please get in touch.
Well, thank you both very much. I know it's hard to discuss this. I know how passionate you are about it, both of you at this point.
Thank you for
You can go to droz.com for a link to the Helen Gone website. A fantastic podcast. Check it out. You'll be educated enough. You may find out things by listening to it. And go to my Facebook page to join our new true crime Facebook group. Any advice is welcome. I pray we catch Rebekah's killer and get justice and closure for her family. The Helen Gone podcast is available tomorrow on iTunes or wherever you download your podcast. I'll be right back. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.